Good afternoon, and welcome to the Live Healthy Miami Gardens Facebook Live weekly series. The Live Healthy Miami Gardens Facebook Live weekly health and wellness series is brought to you by the City of Miami Gardens. The Live Healthy Miami Gardens goal is to bring to our community information and resources to help to make the healthiest choices possible for our residents and families. And with that shared, I am Dr. Cheryl Coleman, the CEO of Abundant Living Health and Wellness Resulting Services, and I have the privilege today to be your host. Just before we dive into our information for us on today, we just want to share with you a little bit about Live Healthy Miami Gardens as we do every week. Live Healthy Miami Gardens was born from the realization that though health is largely influenced by individual choices, these choices and conditions actually stem from the communities in which we live, we learn, and we work, and we play. Those factors play an important role in affecting people's ability to make the healthy choices. So with that shared again, Live Healthy Miami Gardens is a community initiative that is working to make the city of Miami Gardens a healthier place to live, work, and play. This initiative is a part of the city's efforts to reduce poor health outcomes by engaging community and residents to improve their selected public health indicators. Live Healthy Miami Gardens is not just a city effort, but it is also a true community engagement initiative. Since 2014, the city has been working collectively with over 110 community stakeholders with 66 organizations focused on 5 health indicators or areas. That's alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs, physical activity, healthy eating and nutrition, mental health, which we are going to give us some information about on today, and primary health. Today, I just want to introduce you also to a co-host that I have, and I'm going to bring her on now. That's Andrea Fletcher, so that she can share a little bit about herself. Andrea?
Thank you. Good afternoon. How's everyone doing today? I hope all is well. My name is Andrea Fletcher, and I'm with Peacemaker Family Service Center at Trinity Church, and I'm the Director of Social Services. Also work with Miami Gardens, Faith and Wellness, and also the Clinical Linkage Program. I'm happy to be here and to sharing some insight on mental health today.
Totally awesome. Thank you, Andrea, my partner in information on today. Now, without further ado, we want to bring to our forefront now our guest speaker, and that is Dr. Venus Miller. And we're going to have her share a little bit about herself, and we'll dive right into our health information.
Hello. Okay, hello everyone. How are you? My name is Dr. Venus Miller. Just coming to you to share some mental health statistics as well as information concerning our adolescent and suicide. Not only suicide, but depression, anxiety, and all those things that come along with an adolescent. As a family and psychiatric nurse practitioner, my expertise is 30 years long now. That's a long time. And what I find is that with our adolescents, just to do a brief overview, and I'm quite sure the questions will come later. When you're talking about the adolescents, you're talking about suicide, depression, anxiety, and all those things that comes along with an adolescent. It's a multiplicity of things that are in play. I'm not sure if you want to ask questions in the way, or do you want me to do an overview at this time? But just so you can have some numbers, I pulled it up in 2017, and now we're in 2020. There were 6,241 suicides for adolescents between the ages of 15 to 24, and a lot of those individuals did have some kind of depression, some anxiety, and several other things. It also states that suicide is considered the second leading cause of death among college students, the second leading cause of death for people ages 25 to 34, and the fourth leading cause of death for adults between the age of 18 and 65. Just to give you an overview, even though we're talking about adolescence, I want to talk to you about our whole and how it impacts our nation from adolescents actually on up. The key is to really deal with the adolescents so we don't have those numbers going up any further. There were 1.3 million adults 18 years old and older attempted suicide, and 1.1 million making plans to commit suicide. So when you talk about suicide, there are different phases, there are different thoughts of it. There's different ways that people think about suicide. Suicide is just not, okay, I get up and I want to commit suicide today. It really is a whole chain of events that can include depression, anxiety, that can include trauma. And sadly, in some suicides, it doesn't necessarily have to be any of that. It can be one incident. It can be name calling. It can be bullying. It can be a multiplicity of things. But we do know, because of the pandemic, that our teenagers, our adolescents, are more at home. They're more closed in. They're not getting out. They're not doing a lot of things. They have a lot of things that they're dealing with. They're not with their peers. They don't have their typical going outside. They are not as open to going outside. And then we have the pandemic. We're dealing with the mask. We're dealing with relationships. We're dealing with not being able to do, for quote unquote, lack of a better word, what teenagers do. So sorry about that. I know I'm muted. I'm at work, so excuse that sometime. I just want to do just a brief overview, and I'm not sure if Ms. Coleman wants to ask questions at this time, but just want to do an overview before those questions start.
Thank you so much, Dr. Miller, for sharing that overview. And as you shared it, and you shared some of the multiple factors that can contribute to depression and suicide, what are some of the suggestions that you might have for youth or those dealing with youth or parents about integrating them back as this pandemic is unfolding and we're getting back into society? Are there any suggestions that you have that you could share with us?
My biggest suggestion, and the reason a lot of times I see the adolescents, is based on communication. Communication is key in adolescence. And if you've had an adolescent, I had 3 at one time, they're not good communicators with their parents. They're good communicators with almost everybody else but you. And so communication is key. Communication and really being in their space without being in their space. Paying attention to what is going on with them. And finding a way to communicate with them when you see your child changing in any way. So if I had anything to say, it would be communication. I know it seems simple, but communication, being aware, looking at your child, making sure that things are happening the way they normally happen, and knowing that your child is impacted. And because most teenagers are not that vocal, you're going to have to look at those cues, look at their friends, look at their rooms. You have to do that checks and balances. I'm not saying be in their face, but you need to be in their space so you know what is happening with them. So my biggest cue will be communication. I can't hear you. I think you're muted. Oh, there you go. I don't know why, but I think that she's muted. I can't hear it. There you go.
We already talked about some of the contributing factors to what contributes to suicide in adolescents, such as bullying and so forth. But can we talk about a little bit about the social media? I know that social media also play a big factor in suicide and suicidal attempts in adolescents, as well as bullying as well on social media. Can we talk a little bit about that? And what's the best way to target that or to address it with our adolescents and get them the help they need to get?
Okay, multi-level question, but social media, not changing.
Social media, anything on social platforms.
That's what I say. Social media is social media, and social media looks at you're looking at the visual impact of a child, an adolescent, or anyone, even ourselves that are watching it. When you talk about social media, in order for an adolescent to be impacted by social media, they have to be on it. And social media, remember, in the pandemic, social media is pretty much all we had. So to really come and interrupt that is going to be a challenge for you. What you want to do is give them the knowledge and wisdom of things they need to be watching and not watching on social media. If you acknowledge our children in the age that we are, in the age that our children are, they are more aware of more violence, traumatic stuff, more vulgarity, more exposure, more sexuality. And remember, if you have a child in the house and that's all they're doing is social media because they can't go outside or it's dangerous to be outside, then now the next step is, if you go to adolescent and take away their social media, what you think you're gonna get? You're gonna get a fight. So our job is to educate them on whatever you're seeing on social media. Then you as a parent, as an adult, to give them the tools they need to combat what is on there, because social media is not changing. Social media is more graphic, it's more violent, it's where adolescents feel empowered. It's a place where, believe it or not, it shows something to an adolescent's eye that's not really true. They're showing them, okay, this person has a nice body, or okay, it's cool to sell drugs. Oh, it's okay to look this way. But who is combating? What happens when that happens? So when an adolescent sees something, if you've ever been an adolescent, which I know you have, we're eager, we're impatient, we're impactful, we're doing it right now. It's about education, communication. To take social media away is not the answer, but to give them the tools to deal what is on social media is the answer. How are we educating our children about what they're seeing on social media? What happens when you do see something on social media? So an adolescent is not just about how much you're going to expose to social media. When they get exposed, because they're going to be exposed, what do you do with what they're exposed with? Again, that is communication. So talking to the adolescent about what they're seeing, what the impact is, what the trauma is, what the danger is. Again, without communication, just the act of taking it away or don't watch that is not enough for our adolescents. Our adolescents really need to understand, and we do that by parenting. Yes, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. And our parents will say the same thing about us. It was difficult. Venus, I want you to wear a skirt and not shorts, but I still wore the shorts. I just wore them under the skirt. So it's the same thing with an adolescent. You're still going to have to still hammer in. You have to keep communicating. You have to keep reiterating. But remember, in the pandemic, now they're isolated to social media. Before, it's like, okay, get off the social media for a while. Go outside or go play or do this or do that. But at what point? Even school is basically online. So everything is now driven to social media, driven to the, the tablets and those things. And we as parents, it's almost becoming creative to get your child to get off there. And then the fight that comes after that, it is a constant communication, constant in their face, constant watching them and restructuring that, because social media, if they don't do it with you, they're going to sneak and do it. It is what they see. What do you do with that? What does my child do if they see something or if they're not in my presence? Because you can't be with them 24/7, but you sure can teach them mentally what to do. Physically, if something happens, what to say, how you feeling about that. And definitely always know when your child is changing, whether it's mood, whether it's clothing, whether it's drugs, whether now they're stealing, whether it's, I don't want to listen to my parent no more, whether they're aggressive. The child shows you signs that they will not talk about. That's what we have to be keen on.
We have one question that came in from Daphne.
Okay.
What advice would you give an adolescent that have parents that have a hard time speaking to their parents?
Okay, so if you're the one talking to the adolescent, I would ask the adolescent why they're having a hard time speaking to their parent. Also, that is also a double thing. It's just not the adolescent, it's also the parent and the parent's ability to know how to speak to a child. In my time and day, it was, if I tell you to do something, you do it, period. Now our children are, I know you telling me, but I need you to explain to me. I wouldn't dare ask my mother or my father. All I did was do what they say do. Our children are not like that. They're more inquisitive. They're quicker. They learn in Spanish at 2 years old. They're on tablets at 1 year old. My 1-year-old can swipe the tablet and find out where they need to go and play it and tell me what to change at 1. They're doing double languages at 2. I'm just learning at 50 something how to do 2 languages. So remember, you're dealing with children that are very smart, but they're not wise. The difference. Yes. So you have to take your wise self and deal with them on another level. and being smart. And being smart. Sorry about that, guys. My thing went out. And being smart with them. So how do I do that? I do that by, again, communicating with my child. I do that by talking to that adolescent who's having a problem with their parent and knowing what that is. Just don't say it's the parent or the child's fault. Because if you miss communication, you can miss the fact that a child is being abused, not saying they are, that a child is being harmed, not saying they are, or that a parent has a problem in communicating. That's a double edge, meaning the child needs help and the parent needs to learn how to communicate on now our children's level and not our level, or you'll miss your child totally. So that's a double portion for that.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. That's absolutely great communication. I call that not only, you know, how we check vital signs as nurses as the key to life, but communication is the key to our relationships. And so that's absolutely wonderful advice that you're sharing. And as we're looking at that, the mental health conversation, is there any advice that you would give around how we can make that as a normal part of checkups, if you will? You know, when you go to the doctors for checkup, but mental health, especially in certain underserved populations, is sometimes taboo. So is there any advice you could give to make that a more normalized conversation so that we could get resources to individuals?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, the provider themselves have to be comfortable. That's the first part. And the parent or the adult that's bringing them, those two entities need to first get comfortable with mental health. And mental health is not a bad word, but it's bad by the way that we have done it. Mental health means the way that I think about me. How am I feeling? So I don't say mental health all the time. I say, how are you thinking? How are you feeling? What's on your mind today? What is bothering you? That's all mental health. We made the word bad by what we put with it. Mental health, anytime you have a problem in your mental health, you're crazy. Anytime you have a problem in your mental health, nobody's going to talk to you. The truth is, if we don't deal with our mental health, we're going to have a physical problem because we're going to act on it. We have a physical problem based on our mental health because we have not dealt with it. So mental health is not even normalizing. What it is, it's normal, meaning that how you feel and how you think is important. I don't care how much they told you to cover it up or what happens in the house stays in the house, because that house is right here. So if what happens in the house stays in the house, when is it going to get out? How does it get out? How do you deal with it? So when we say that to a child, they don't understand what you're talking about. That means that every time I'm thinking something, be quiet. And then you have someone so quiet that they're explosive in their mind.
That's
and you
right.
have this person become explosive because we told them what happens in the house stays in the house. I tell people, you need a checkup from your neck up, not just from your feet up. You need a checkup from your neck up, not just from your feet up. Because if you get a checkup from your neck up, you'll stand strong on your feet. It's when your mental health is not in order that you begin to crumble. So we need to speak to them clearly that mental health is key. That's what governs me. The way that I think is where I'm going to move. If I'm angry, I may not say it, but I'm going to do something. Fight, violence, aggression, abuse. But if my mental status is that I can tell you I'm upset with you today, get that out, then I won't act on it. So it's not even normalized. It is really identifying the fact that we all have things that we think about. Now, when I think about it, what am I going to do with it? We need to teach them from little that because you're angry, you don't hit. Because you want to think, you don't steal it. If we don't teach them then, we can have adults doing things that we should have taught them in childhood, which goes back to our adolescence, which means that, hey, you're having a problem in your hormones. You have a problem when you don't like something. You have a problem, you can't get the outfit. That don't mean take the other person out. That means figure out how to get that. So what I believe our issue is that we are lacking the tools to help our adolescents, ourselves, when we don't feel a way or we don't think a way or we're feeling in our emotions. How do we deal with that? And we have to teach it. But how can we teach it and we haven't learned it? Our adolescents don't know it because we don't. So it starts with the adults. It will pass down to your child. But what is happening is the adults don't know it. So the children can't learn it. So all they do is what we do, which is a lot of times be quiet, don't say nothing, get mad, and all they're going to do is repeat that. So to kill all of it, to deal with the stigma of it, we have to first start dealing with us as adults to then pass to our children how to effectively communicate when I'm angry, when I'm upset, when I'm hurt. How do I deal with it?
Wow. Dr. Miller, this is powerful, and this topic is actually near and dear to me, even not just as a healthcare provider, but even as a mother. And so, as you share all of these things, once there is an identified issue, getting the help, because sometimes as parents, we don't necessarily know how do we get access or resources to get the professional help to make a difference in our adolescents' choices around mental health?
Agreed. So adolescent help to me, because at one time I had 3 adolescents, and one of them, it's always one. Lord Jesus, it was one. He's still the one, I think. But anyway, what happened was he didn't express himself like my other children did. So I began to struggle in my mental health, trying to mentally help him when I was falling apart every time he had a problem. But my one thing that helped me the most with my son is when I asked him, what's wrong? When I asked him, why are you acting out? He told me something totally different. Oh, I just want the attention of my father because I know you coming. So if I act this way, maybe he'll come too. So I had to deal with the fact that he was missing his father and deal with that. So he evened out totally. Everything stopped when I dealt with the issue. But have we really asked our children, why are you acting like that? It's not always they're bad. They just want to act up. I did never ask them the question until one time in the therapist's office said, what is the issue? I give you this. I give you money. I give you this. I do this for you. I'm here for you. But you're not my daddy. And I had to step back and say, hey, he's missing something. And had to get him that father figure and his daddy and the minister to get him where he needs to be. So have you really asked your child what the problem is? Sometimes we think the problem is the child's issue is yours. Don't take it personal when your children act out. Don't take it personal, but take it personal. Meaning that in order for my child to get help, I'm going to have to ask him, I'm going to have to take him, and I'm going to have to do that uncomfortable thing of going to where I need to go to get the help. So you may be uncomfortable, but if you take the time with your child, my son is amazing right now. Gave me my first 2 grandchildren, credit score better than me, lives on his own, has more cars than I've ever had. To a child that gave me, I don't know how much pressure on my knees. Until I asked him one question, I promise y'all, one question that I wouldn't ask, because remember, I wore the jacket. Remember, I'm the doctor. How the doctor going to ask the child, who is the psych nurse practitioner, why I can't get to my child? Because you can't treat your child like your job. You treat your child like your child and ask them what's wrong and how can I help you? And if you would dare to do that, some of the problem will go away if we will communicate with them.
Well, this is so much good information, and I know that parents will be able to utilize this information at home, because just having those simple conversations, you know, a lot of times all it takes is that question, what's going on with you?
Yeah.
That's all it takes, you know. So appreciate all the information you provide today. I wanted to know, do you have any other resources that you would like to extend to our viewers if they're having some challenges at home with their adolescents, or they may have some concerns about their behavior, maybe some depression, anxiety? Do you have any resources that we can direct them to or recommend them to get help?
Well, adolescents are very different, so you would have to be specific in what you're looking for. But if you would inbox me, that's Dr. Venus Miller. There's something I do also that is a part of my practice. It's on www.venusmiller.com. Adolescents are my favorite because those are the ones that really, really need the help, because that's the maker or breaker for you. If you don't get them, then a lot of time they're lost afterwards. So it's a very difficult age because they're growing and they know everything. You know, they know everything. Okay, never mind.
Oh, yes.
They know everything. and you can't cut it out. So if you want to just inbox me, it'll be best that way. I can give you a direct resource. If you need to speak with me, that's the other side of my practice that I do. And let's talk about it. And we need to have more discussions. And we really need to spend some time with our children. And they difficult. Oh, Jesus, parents is difficult. But I have to say that so was I as a teenager.
Yeah. Dr. Miller, that's just great. Before we chime off, I just wanted to make sure with your resources that you're talking, because some people have identified issues. I don't like my body, the way God made me. So you have gotten what the issue is, but that's not something you can handle. So I just want to know, talk therapy, access, because in this healthcare system we have people who want the help, don't know how to get it, you know, by way of insurance or whatever. So that was the piece that I wanted to hear if you had something.
Right. I don't have a direct, I can tell you, I don't have a direct adolescent. The only thing that we do over here is Miami Children's, and we will send them to a therapist. You know, citrus is a big one. But remember, when you're talking about a child in specifics, it can be a multiplicity of things. First is the evaluation, then it's the therapist, then it's knowing what that child needs. Just because your child has a need, I ask the child what they need. The parent tells me what they need, but that's not necessarily what the child needs. So we really have to be individualistic. That's why I said to inbox me, be best for me to guide you where to go, because I don't want to make a general statement and send them wrong. So if there's someone specifically having a problem with the adolescents, I would prefer them to tell me what it is and that specific problem so I can curtail it, because there's many providers out here. You don't want the wrong one.
That's it.
Yes.
Thank
you so much. Appreciate you.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. And this is really concluding our session on this week, an amazing session. We thank God for you who have chimed in via our Facebook on this weekly segment where we try to bring rich and healthy information to help us around our health choices. And so we're grateful. Thank you so much, Dr. Miller.
Have a great day. Thank you.